The diner smelled like burnt coffee and desperation, a scent I'd grown so accustomed to that it had become part of my skin. My fingers ached as I wiped down the same grimy table for the third time, the rag leaving streaks instead of cleaning them. Outside, rain hammered against the windows, turning the Brooklyn street into a blur of neon and shadow. It was nearly midnight, and I was the only server left in Murphy's, a 24-hour establishment that catered to insomniacs, drunks, and people who had nowhere else to go. I fell into all three categories lately. "Sweetheart, you gonna stand there all night or get me my check?" Old Mr. Kowalski wheezed from booth 7, his coffee cup empty for the 4th time. I forced a smile, the kind that didn't reach my eyes but satisfied customers enough to leave a $1 tip if I was lucky. "Coming right up," I called back, my voice hoarse from exhaustion. My reflection caught in the window as I passed. Hollow eyes, hair pulled back in a messy bun, uniform 2 sizes too big because I'd lost weight I couldn't afford to lose. At 26, I looked 40. 3 jobs, a shoebox apartment in Bed-Stuy, and debt collectors who called at dawn had a way of aging you faster than time itself. The bell above the door chimed, and a gust of wind carried in the smell of rain and something else. Expensive cologne, leather, and the metallic tang of danger. I didn't look up immediately. In this neighborhood, you learn not to make eye contact too quickly. But then I felt it, that prickling sensation at the back of my neck, the one that makes prey animals freeze. I turned. 3 men stood in the doorway, water dripping from their dark suits. The 2 flanking the sides were built like walls, broad shoulders, expressionless faces, hands resting at their sides in a way that suggested weapons weren't far. But it was the man in the center who made my breath catch. He was tall, well over 6 feet, with dark hair slicked back from a face that could have been carved from marble. Sharp jaw, straight nose, and eyes so dark they looked black in the diner's fluorescent lighting. His suit probably cost more than my yearly rent, perfectly tailored to a body that radiated controlled power. A thin scar ran from his left eyebrow into his hairline, the only imperfection on an otherwise devastating face. He didn't belong here. None of them did. "We're closing soon," I heard myself say, the lie automatic. Murphy's never closed, but something told me I wanted these men gone. The corner of his mouth lifted, not quite a smile, more like acknowledgement of my fear. "Coffee," he said, his voice low and accented with something European I couldn't place, black. It wasn't a request. His men remained by the door as he moved to the booth in the far corner, the one with the best view of both entrances and the kitchen. He sat with his back to the wall, those dark eyes scanning the room with practiced efficiency before settling on me. I grabbed the coffee pot with shaking hands. Mr. Kowalski had fallen asleep in his booth. The cook had his headphones in, oblivious to everything except whatever music was blasting in his ears. It was just me and these men who smelled like money and violence. "Here." I set the cup down without meeting his gaze, but his hand shot out, wrapping around my wrist. Not tight enough to hurt, but firm enough to keep me there. His skin was warm, and I could feel calluses on his palm. Strange for a man in a $1,000 suit. "Look at me." I didn't want to. Every instinct screamed not to, but I lifted my eyes anyway. Up close, he was even more devastating. Those dark eyes held intelligence and something else. Curiosity, maybe. He studied my face like I was a puzzle he was trying to solve. "What's your name?" "Emma." It came out as a whisper. "Emma." He repeated it slowly, like he was tasting each syllable. "You work here every night?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. "Alone?" Another nod. Something flickered across his face, disapproval maybe. He released my wrist, and I stumbled back, my hip hitting the adjacent table. "Be careful," he said, and I couldn't tell if it was a warning or genuine concern. I fled to the kitchen, my heart hammering against my ribs. Through the serving window, I watched him make a phone call, his expression hardening as he spoke in rapid Italian. One of his men approached, leaning down to whisper something. The dark-eyed man's jaw tightened, and he stood abruptly. That's when I smelled smoke. Not cigarette smoke. Something chemical, wrong. It was coming from outside, growing stronger by the second. Through the window, I saw orange flames licking up the side of the building next door, the abandoned warehouse that shared a wall with Murphy's. Fire! The word ripped from my throat. The cook looked up, yanked off his headphones, and his eyes went wide. Shit! The gas line runs between... He didn't finish. An explosion rocked the building, shattering the front windows and sending Mr. Kowalski tumbling from his booth. The lights flickered and died, plunging us into darkness lit only by the growing inferno outside. I couldn't breathe. Smoke was already pouring in through the broken windows, thick and black. I heard the cook shouting, heard Mr. Kowalski's panicked wheezing, but all I could see were those flames, getting closer, hungry. Then I heard it. A child's scream. It came from above, from the apartments over Murphy's where some of the staff lived. My mind went blank with terror. Someone's kid was up there. Everyone out! One of the suited men was shouting, dragging Mr. Kowalski toward the back exit. The cook had already disappeared, but the dark-eyed man was moving toward the stairs that led to the apartments, his phone pressed to his ear. No. I grabbed his arm without thinking. The stairs. There's another way. Through the kitchen. The fire escape. He looked at me. Really looked at me. And something passed between us in that moment. Understanding. Decision. Show me. I ran, and he followed. Through the kitchen, past the walk-in freezer, to the rusty door I'd used 100 times to take out trash. The fire escape groaned under our weight as we climbed, smoke burning my lungs. I could hear sirens in the distance, but they wouldn't get here in time. The child's screaming was louder now, mixed with a woman's panicked voice. Which apartment? He demanded. 3rd floor, end of the hall. But when we reached the 3rd floor window, I saw the flames had already engulfed the interior hallway. We couldn't get through. There. He pointed to the window at the hall's end, barely visible through the smoke. A woman holding a small boy, maybe 4 or 5 years old. The glass was still intact, but she couldn't reach the fire escape. The gap was too wide. The dark-eyed man didn't hesitate. He climbed onto the railing, balancing 3 stories above the alley, and began working his way along the decorative ledge that ran between windows. It was barely 6 inches wide, crumbling in places. "What are you doing?" I screamed. "You'll fall." He ignored me, moving with surprising grace for a man his size. But halfway across, the ledge gave way. I watched him drop, watched his hand shoot out and catch the window frame of the apartment where the woman and child were trapped. He hung there by his fingertips, legs dangling over nothing. The flames were inside the apartment now. I could see them dancing behind the woman, hear the boy's terrified sobs. Without thinking, I grabbed a section of loose pipe from the fire escape railing and swung my body out over the gap, using the pipe to bridge the distance. It was insane. It was suicidal. But I hooked it under his arm and pulled with every ounce of strength I had. He used the leverage to swing his leg up, catching the windowsill. Glass shattered as he kicked through it, and then he was inside, yanking the woman and child through the window frame. "Take him!" he shouted, passing the boy to me. The child was small, no more than 30 pounds, but he was hysterical. I clutched him to my chest as the dark-eyed man helped the woman onto the fire escape. The metal groaned ominously under all our weight. "Go! Now!" We descended in a chaotic scramble, the boy's little hands fisted in my uniform, his face buried against my neck. I could feel his heart racing, could smell the smoke in his hair. Behind us, the apartment exploded in a ball of flame. The fire escape swayed. Someone screamed. Maybe me. Then we were falling, the last section of stairs collapsing under the heat. I twisted in midair, curling my body around the boy, knowing I was about to hit the ground, knowing it was going to hurt. Strong arms caught us both. The dark-eyed man had somehow gotten ahead of us, and he absorbed the impact as we crashed into him. We all went down in a tangle of limbs, him on the bottom, me in the middle. The boy clutched safely between us. For a moment, nobody moved. I could feel the man's chest heaving beneath me, could feel the boy's tears soaking through my uniform. Sirens wailed closer, voices shouted. But in that moment, it was just the 3 of us, alive, breathing, impossibly alive. I lifted my head to look at him, to thank him. to say something. And the world tilted. My vision blurred at the edges, darkening rapidly. I tried to hold on to the boy, but my arms wouldn't obey. I felt myself being pulled away, heard someone calling my name urgently, but the voice sounded like it was underwater. The last thing I saw before the darkness swallowed me was those dark eyes, wide with something that looked almost like fear, and the small boy's face, so similar to the man beneath me that even through my fading consciousness, I understood. This was his son. I woke to whiteness and the smell of antiseptic. Hospital. The word floated through my foggy brain before anything else made sense. Beeping monitors, starched sheets, fluorescent lights that hurt my eyes. I tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain lanced through my ribs, and my head spun like I'd been on a carousel. Easy. A hand pressed gently on my shoulder, keeping me down. You have a concussion and bruised ribs. Don't move too quickly. The nurse was middle-aged, with kind eyes and a no-nonsense expression. She checked the IV in my arm, made notes on a chart, and gave me that sympathetic look healthcare workers reserve for charity cases. How long have I been here? My voice came out like sandpaper. 18 hours. You collapsed from smoke inhalation and exhaustion. When's the last time you ate a proper meal, honey? I couldn't remember. Days, maybe. I'd been rationing the expired bread from the diner's dumpster. The boy, I croaked. The little boy from the fire, is he okay? Something shifted in the nurse's expression. Surprise, maybe caution. He's fine. Not a scratch on him thanks to you. She hesitated. You have visitors. They've been here all night. Should I send them in? All night? I didn't have anyone who'd wait all night for me. My parents were dead. I had no siblings. And my ex-boyfriend had stolen my savings and disappeared 6 months ago. Before I could answer, the door opened. He filled the doorway. The dark-eyed man from the diner, now in a fresh suit, charcoal gray this time, with a black shirt open at the collar. Even exhausted, even in the harsh hospital lighting, he was breathtaking and terrifying. Behind him stood one of his men from last night, the one built like a concrete wall, and a woman, late 50s, elegant, with steel gray hair swept into a perfect chignon. She wore pearls and the expression that could cut glass. The nurse suddenly found a reason to leave very quickly. Emma. My name on his lips sent an involuntary shiver down my spine. He moved into the room with that same predatory grace, pulling a chair to my bedside and sitting down like he owned the place. Maybe he did. How are you feeling? Confused. I managed to push myself up despite the pain, needing to not be lying down while he loomed over me. What are you doing here? You saved my son's life. He said it simply. Like that explained everything. I owe you a debt. My son. So I'd been right in that split second before I blacked out. The little boy with his dark eyes and sharp features, a miniature version of the dangerous man sitting beside me. I didn't know he was yours. I just heard a kid screaming. My throat hurt from the smoke. Is he really okay? Something softened in his expression. Barely perceptible, but there, thanks to you. Nico is home. Safe. Probably driving his nanny insane. He paused. The woman you helped save was his nanny. She's recovering in another wing. I'm glad. I meant it. The relief was overwhelming. Then we're good. You don't owe me anything. I did what anyone would do. No. His voice dropped lower, more intense. Not anyone. Most people would have run. You ran toward the danger. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees, those dark eyes pinning me in place. Do you know who I am, Emma? I swallowed hard. Should I? The woman behind him made a sound. Amusement or disdain, I couldn't tell, but he never looked away from me. My name is Damien Volkov. Does that mean anything to you? It didn't. Should it? I shook my head, and his lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Innocent, he murmured, almost to himself. Then louder. I'm a businessman, Emma. Import-export, mostly. I have extensive interests throughout New York. The way he said extensive interests made the hair on my arms stand up, and when someone saves my son's life, I take that very seriously. Look, Mr. Volkov. Damien. Mr. Volkov. I repeated firmly. I appreciate you checking on me, but I'm fine. I need to get back to work. I tried to swing my legs out of bed and nearly passed out again. His hand shot out, steadying me. You're not going back to work. It wasn't a suggestion. Murphy's burned down. The whole building is gone. The words hit me like a physical blow. Gone. My job. One of my 3 jobs. Just gone. And with it, any hope of making this month's rent. Oh God. The panic was immediate and visceral. I need to call my other jobs. I need the hospital bill. I can't afford. It's taken care of. Damien's voice cut through my spiral. All of it. The hospital bill, your medical expenses, everything. I stared at him. What? No, I can't accept that. I don't take charity. It's not charity. It's a debt. He stood, and suddenly he was towering over me again. And I remembered how he'd moved on that ledge, how he'd caught us when we fell, the controlled violence in every line of his body. You saved my son, Emma. My son. Do you understand what that means to me? The intensity in his voice made my breath catch. This wasn't just gratitude. This was something deeper, more primal. I'd touched the thing he valued most in the world, and now I'd activated some kind of code I didn't understand. I don't want anything from you, I whispered. Too bad. He reached into his jacket. I flinched involuntarily and pulled out a business card. He set it on the bedside table. You'll be discharged this afternoon. A car will pick you up at 3 o'clock. A car? I'm not going anywhere with you. I don't even know you. You're not going with me. You're going to a safe location where you can rest and recover. He nodded to the woman, who stepped forward and placed a shopping bag on the chair. Sophia has brought you clothes. Your apartment building has been condemned due to fire code violations. Apparently the blaze spread. You have nowhere to go. The hits kept coming. My apartment. My few possessions. Everything just gone. There are shelters, I started, but he made a sharp gesture that silenced me. No. The word was absolute. The woman who saved my son doesn't sleep in a shelter. You'll stay in one of my properties until you're recovered and we've settled accounts. Settled accounts? Dread pooled in my stomach. What does that mean? He studied me for a long moment and I couldn't read his expression. It means we'll figure out what comes next. Together. Before I could protest again, he was moving toward the door. The car at 3 o'clock, Emma. Don't make me send my men to collect you. He paused in the doorway, looking back. And Emma, don't run. I always find what belongs to me. Then he was gone, leaving behind that expensive cologne and the sensation that my life had just been tilted on its axis. The woman, Sophia, remained, regarding me with those sharp eyes. You'll find everything you need in the bag. Clothes, toiletries, a phone. She produced a sleek smartphone from her purse and set it beside the business card. Mr. Volkov's number is programmed. Use it if you need anything. I don't want... What you want is irrelevant right now, dear. But her voice wasn't unkind. You're hurt, homeless, and jobless. My employer is offering you a safe place to recover. I suggest you take it. She moved to leave, then turned back. For what it's worth, I've worked for Damien Volkov for 20 years. He's a hard man, but he's fair, and he protects what's his. I'm not his, I said automatically. Sophia's smile was cryptic. Tell yourself that if it helps you sleep, the car will be here at 3. The door closed behind her, and I was alone with the beeping monitors and the weight of what had just happened. I looked at the business card, heavy stock, embossed lettering. Just a name and a phone number, no company, no address. Like he didn't need to advertise what he was. My hands were shaking as I reached for the shopping bag. Inside, I found clothes that were probably worth more than my entire wardrobe had been. Designer jeans that looked like they'd actually fit, a soft cashmere sweater, expensive underwear still in packaging, leather boots. Everything in my size. How did he know my size? The phone buzzed, making me jump. One new message from a number I didn't recognize. Rest. Recover. We'll talk soon. D. I should throw the phone away. I should refuse the clothes, refuse the car, walk out of here and disappear into the city. I'd done it before when my ex had gotten mixed up with the wrong people. I could do it again. But where would I go? Murphy's was gone. My apartment was gone. My savings, What little I'd managed to scrape together after James had stolen from me had been in cash in my apartment. Everything I owned had fit in 2 duffel bags, and now even those were ash. I was 26 years old, and I had nothing. Less than nothing. I had debt I could never repay, and a body that felt like it had been hit by a truck. And somewhere in this city, a dangerous man with dark eyes and a young son thought he owned me now. The nurse returned with discharge papers and pain medication. She was chattier now, asking if I needed help getting dressed, mentioning how generous my friend was to pay for everything. I caught the way she said friend, with air quotes in her tone. At 2:45, I was dressed in the expensive clothes that fit perfectly and sitting in the wheelchair hospital policy required, staring at the exit doors. The phone in my pocket felt like a lead weight. I could still run. But when the sleek black SUV pulled up, windows tinted so dark I couldn't see inside, chrome gleaming, and the driver got out in a perfectly tailored suit, I knew running wasn't really an option. Not from a man like Damien Volkov. The driver opened my door with military precision. "Miss Emma, I'm Anton. I'll be taking you to the residence. What if I say no?" His expression didn't change. "Then I wait until you say yes." Mr. Volkov was very clear. "You're to be comfortable and safe. Force is not on the table. Persuasion is." At least he was honest about it. I got in the car because I was tired, because I hurt, and because I had nowhere else to go. Anton closed the door with a soft click that sounded like a cell locking. As we pulled into traffic, I caught sight of another SUV falling in behind us. Security. Because apparently, I was important enough now to need protection. Or important enough to need watching. The drive took us out of Brooklyn, across the bridge into Manhattan, then north. I watched the city change through the tinted windows. From crowded streets to tree-lined avenues. From apartment buildings to brownstones to estates hidden behind iron gates. We finally stopped in front of a building that looked like it belonged in a European capital. All limestone and wrought iron, with a doorman who nodded respectfully at Anton. This wasn't just expensive. This was old money. Power money. "The penthouse," Anton said, as if that clarified anything. The elevator was all mirrors and marble. I looked like a ghost in the reflection, pale, hollow-eyed, swimming in expensive clothes. The elevator didn't have buttons, just a keypad where Anton entered a code. We rose smoothly, silently, for what felt like forever. When the doors opened, they opened directly into an apartment. No hallway, no other units. Just a massive open space with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Central Park, furniture that probably cost more than most people's cars, and artwork I recognized from museums. And in the center of it all, sitting on the floor with toy cars scattered around him, was the little boy from the fire. Nico looked up when the elevator chimed, and his dark eyes, his father's eyes, went wide. "It's you." He scrambled to his feet and ran straight at me. I barely had time to brace myself before he crashed into my legs, small arms wrapping around my knees. "You saved me. Papa said you were the brave lady who saved me from the fire." My heart did something strange and painful in my chest. I knelt down slowly, ignoring the protest of my ribs, until I was eye level with him. "Are you okay? Did you get hurt?" He shook his head vigorously. "Nuh-uh. Papa caught us. He catches everything," said with absolute faith, like his father was a superhero. "Nico." A woman's voice, sharp with authority. An older woman in a neat uniform appeared from another room, the nanny, presumably. "You're supposed to be resting, and don't bother Miss Emma, she's hurt." "It's okay," I said automatically, even though it wasn't, even though everything about this was wrong. "He's not bothering me." Nico grabbed my hand with both of his. "Are you gonna stay here? Papa said you might stay. Do you like cars? I have lots of cars. Do you want to play?" The innocence in his voice was devastating. He had no idea what his father was, what world he'd been born into. He just saw someone who'd helped him, and in the pure logic of childhood, that made me safe. "Nico, that's enough." The nanny, her name tag read Mrs. Chen, gently extracted his hands from mine. "Miss Emma needs to rest. You can talk to her later. But..." "No buts. Go wash your hands for dinner." He pouted, but obeyed, throwing one last hopeful look over his shoulder before disappearing down a hallway. Mrs. Chen turned to me, her expression softening slightly. "I'm sorry. He's been asking about you since he woke up. Mr. Volkov told him you were the one who kept him safe. She gestured toward another hallway. Your room is this way. Everything you'll need has been provided. I followed her in a daze, my mind still stuck on the image of that little boy. So happy, so innocent, so loved. Whatever else Damien Volkov was, he was a father who'd risked his life to save his son. The bedroom was larger than my entire former apartment had been, king-size bed with silk sheets, connected bathroom with a tub big enough to swim in, a walk-in closet that was already filled with clothes, all my size, all expensive, all clearly bought specifically for me. Dinner is at 7, Mrs. Chen said. Mr. Volkov will join you. If you need anything before then, use the house phone. She pointed to an ornate telephone on the nightstand. Just press 0. Then I was alone. I stood in the center of the room, turning slowly, trying to process everything. 24 hours ago, I'd been wiping down tables in a greasy diner. Now I was standing in a penthouse that probably cost more per month than I'd made in my entire life, wearing clothes that cost more than my car before it had been repossessed. The phone in my pocket buzzed. Another message from D. Nico is happy you're here, so am I. My hands were shaking as I typed back, why am I really here? The response came immediately, because you're mine to protect now. Get used to it. I dropped the phone like it had burned me. Outside the window, the sun was setting over Central Park, painting the sky in shades of blood and gold. And somewhere in this massive apartment, a dangerous man was planning something I couldn't begin to understand. I should have been terrified. The terrifying part was that I wasn't sure I was. I didn't go to dinner. Instead, I locked myself in the bathroom and sat on the floor with my back against the door, trying to slow my racing heart. The marble was cold through my jeans, grounding me when everything else felt like it was spinning out of control. My phone buzzed twice. I ignored it. At 7:15, there was a soft knock on the bedroom door. Miss Emma? Mrs. Chen's voice, concerned. Mr. Volkov is asking if you'll join him. I'm not hungry, I called back, hating how my voice shook. A pause, then footsteps retreating. 5 minutes later, different footsteps, heavier, more purposeful. A single knock, harder than Mrs. Chen's. Emma, Damien's voice, low and controlled. Open the door. I didn't answer, didn't move. I can have this door removed from its hinges in under a minute, or you can open it yourself and talk to me like an adult. A pause. Your choice. He would do it. I knew he would. I could hear it in his voice, that absolute certainty that what he wanted, he would get. I stood on shaking legs, unlocked the bedroom door and pulled it open 6 inches. What do you want? He stood there in dark slacks and a white shirt with the sleeves rolled up, looking like he'd stepped out of some magazine spread. But there was tension in his jaw, concern in those dark eyes. You missed dinner. I told Mrs. Chen I wasn't hungry. You need to eat. When's the last time you had a real meal? When I didn't answer, he swore softly in what sounded like Russian. Come, I had the kitchen prepare something light. This isn't a request. But his tone had gentled slightly. You're recovering from smoke inhalation and exhaustion. Your body needs fuel. Stop being stubborn and let me feed you. There was something about the way he said, let me feed you, that made heat curl in my stomach, protective, possessive, intimate, in a way that had nothing to do with food. Fine, I heard myself say. But then we talk, really talk. You explain what I'm doing here, what you want from me, all of it. Something flickered across his face. Respect, maybe. Deal. He led me through the apartment to a dining room with a table that could seat 20. But only 2 places were set, at the head and to the immediate right. The intimacy of it made me hesitate, but he was already pulling out the chair for me, waiting. I sat. He sat beside me, close enough that I could smell his cologne, cedar and something darker, more complex. Mrs. Chen appeared with plates of food, soup that smelled like heaven, fresh bread, grilled chicken with vegetables. My stomach growled traitorously. Eat, Damien said quietly. Then we'll talk. I wanted to refuse out of principle, but I was starving. Actually starving, not the polite kind. I picked up the spoon with hands that trembled slightly and tasted the soup. It was the best thing I'd ever eaten. I must have made a sound because Damien's lips curved into an almost smile. Good? It's fine, I lied, but I was already taking another spoonful. He watched me eat with an intensity that should have been unsettling, but somehow wasn't. It felt more like satisfaction, like my eating pleased him on some fundamental level. You're too thin, he said finally. How long have you been starving yourself? I haven't been... I started, but he raised an eyebrow. 6 months, I admitted. Since my ex cleaned out our joint account and disappeared. I've been trying to catch up ever since. His expression went cold. Name. What? His name, your ex. Why does that matter? Because men who steal from women deserve consequences. Said casually, like he was discussing the weather. But there was steel underneath. What's his name, Emma? James Morrison. But it doesn't matter. He's probably in another state by now, and it's not like I can prove anything. We shared the account. Legally, he could take whatever he wanted. Damien pulled out his phone and typed something. Less than 10 seconds later, it buzzed with a response. He glanced at it, his jaw tightening. James Morrison, 32, last known address in Newark, New Jersey. Currently working as a manager at a used car dealership under the name Jake Morris. I nearly dropped my spoon. How did you... I have resources. He set the phone down. How much did he take? I don't... That's not why I told you. How much, Emma? $15,000. It hurt to say it out loud. Every penny I'd saved from 4 years of working 3 jobs. I was going to use it for nursing school. I laughed bitterly. Stupid, right? Trusting someone like that. Not stupid. Human. He was typing again. Consider the debt collected. You'll have $20,000 in your account by morning. $15,000 for what he stole. $5,000 extra for the interest you lost and the suffering he caused. I stared at him. You can't just... That's not how this works. You can't throw money at everything, can't I? He leaned back in his chair, watching me with those dark eyes. You saved my son's life, Emma. You think $15,000 comes close to what that's worth? You think $20,000 does? $100,000? He shook his head. There's no number high enough. I didn't do it for money. I know. His voice dropped lower, more intimate. That's why you're here. That's why I'm not letting you go. The words hung in the air between us, loaded with meaning I was afraid to examine too closely. What does that mean? I whispered. Not letting me go. He stood, moving to the window that overlooked the glittering city. 3 weeks ago, Nico's mother tried to kill him. The statement was so unexpected, so horrifying, that I couldn't process it for a moment. What? Elena, his mother. She took him from school, drove him to the apartment where you found them, and started the fire. He turned to face me, and the raw pain in his eyes made my chest tight. She was going to let him burn. Oh my God. Why would... Revenge. Against me. His hands flexed at his sides, and I saw the rage he was holding back. Elena and I were never married. She was... a mistake. A woman I was involved with years ago who got pregnant. I did the right thing. Supported her. Supported Nico. Tried to be a good father even though she and I were wrong for each other in every way. He moved back to the table, but he didn't sit. He stood there, towering over me, and I could see the violence barely contained beneath his civilized surface. 6 months ago, I ended things with her permanently, found out she'd been stealing from me, selling information about my business to competitors, putting Nico at risk with her instability and her drug habit. His voice was ice cold now. I took custody. Full custody. She didn't take it well. So she tried to kill her own son? The horror of it was incomprehensible. She tried to kill the thing I love most in this world. To hurt me. He leaned down, bracing his hands on the table on either side of my plate, bringing his face level with mine. Do you understand now? Do you understand why you walking into that fire, pulling me off that ledge, shielding my son with your own body? Do you understand what that means to me? I could barely breathe. I was just... You were extraordinary. The intensity in his voice pinned me in place. You were everything. And now you're mine to protect, because that's how this works. You saved what's precious to me, so now you become precious to me. That's the code I live by. I'm not yours, I managed, but it sounded weak even to my own ears. You are? He straightened, putting distance between us that did nothing to ease the tension. Elena is in custody, but she has family. Dangerous family. They blame me for her arrest, and they know you were there. They know you helped me. Your name has been in the news, Emma. Heroic waitress saves child from fire. You're recognizable now, exposed. Fear, cold and sharp, cut through me. What are you saying? I'm saying that by saving Nico, you painted a target on your back. Elena's family, the Marchetti family, they're not people who forgive or forget. And they're not people who play by rules. He pulled out his phone again, swiped through something, and showed me the screen. It was a photo of me, taken yesterday at the hospital. Someone had drawn a red X over my face. The blood drained from my head. Where did you get that? My people intercepted it on a known Marchetti communication channel. They're watching you, Emma. They know where you were. If you'd left the hospital alone. If you'd gone to a shelter like you wanted. He didn't finish, but he didn't need to. I felt sick. This is insane. I didn't ask for any of this. No, you didn't. His expression softened slightly. But this is the world I live in. The world you stepped into the moment you pulled me off that ledge. I can't change that. But I can keep you safe. Here, with me, under my protection, they can't touch you. So I'm a prisoner. The words came out flat. You're protected, he corrected. There's a difference. Is there? I stood abruptly, needing to move, needing to do something with the energy coursing through me. You're telling me I can't leave, that there are people who want to hurt me because I saved a little boy, that my entire life is just over. How is that not a prison? Because I'm giving you a choice. He moved closer, and I backed up instinctively until I hit the wall. He stopped just short of touching me, one hand braced beside my head. Stay here. Let me protect you. Let me give you the life you deserve. No more 3 jobs, no more rationing food, no more fear. Safety, comfort, everything you need. In exchange for what? My voice was barely a whisper. What do you want from me? His eyes dropped to my lips, then back up to meet my gaze. I don't know yet. The honesty of it was somehow more frightening than any demand would have been. Damien, Papa. We both turned. Nico stood in the doorway in his pajamas, clutching a stuffed bear. I had a bad dream. There was fire again. The transformation in Damien was instant. The dangerous man disappeared, replaced by a father. He moved to Nico, scooping him up gently. You're safe, Malish. The fire is gone. You're here with me. And Miss Emma? Nico looked at me over his father's shoulder, those dark eyes so trusting it hurt. Is she still here? I'm here, I said automatically, moving closer. I'm not going anywhere. The moment the words left my mouth, I realized what I'd said, what I'd promised. Not just to Nico, but to the man holding him. Damien's eyes met mine over his son's head, and I saw satisfaction there, victory. I'd made my choice. Mrs. Chen appeared, apologizing for letting Nico slip past her. Damien waved her off and carried his son back to bed himself. I stood there alone in the dining room, staring at the half-eaten meal, trying to process everything. 20 minutes later, Damien returned. He's asleep. I told him you'd be here in the morning. Will I? It came out more aggressive than I intended. That's up to you. He moved to pour himself a drink from the bar. Amber liquid, neat. But before you decide to run, know this. I have security on every exit. Not to keep you in, but to keep others out. You're free to leave. But if you do, I can't guarantee your safety. The Marchettis have a long reach, so my choices are stay in your golden cage or die in the streets. Great options. Or, he said quietly, turning to face me, you could trust me. Trust that I meant what I said about protection. Trust that I don't make promises I can't keep. He took a sip of his drink. You have questions. Ask them. I had 100 questions, 1,000. But only one came out. What happens to me now? Now. He set down his glass and moved closer, stopping just outside my personal space. Now you rest. Recover. Get strong again. And then we figure out what comes next. That's not an answer. It's the only answer I have. His hand came up slowly, giving me time to pull away, and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear. The gesture was almost tender. I told you, Emma. I don't know what I want from you yet. I just know I'm not ready to let you go. The touch burned. I stepped back, my heart hammering. This is crazy. Yes, he agreed simply. Welcome to my world. He left me standing there, walking away down the hallway to what I assumed was his own room. At the entrance, he paused and looked back. Your room locks from the inside. Use it if it makes you feel safer, but know this. The only danger you face under this roof is the kind you might invite yourself. Then he was gone. I stood there for a long time, trying to calm my racing pulse, trying to think rationally. But rationality had left the building the moment I'd pulled a mafia boss off a burning ledge. I went back to my room, locked the door, sat on the edge of the bed and stared at my phone. One new message. Sleep well. Tomorrow, we start planning your future. D. I should have been terrified. Should have been planning my escape. Instead, I lay down in the softest bed I'd ever felt, in the safest place I'd been in months, and let exhaustion pull me under. My last thought before sleep claimed me was of dark eyes and a little boy's smile, and the terrifying realization that I wasn't sure I wanted to leave. I woke to sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows and the smell of coffee. For a disoriented moment, I didn't know where I was. Then it all came rushing back. The fire, Damien, Nico, the Marchettis. I sat up too quickly and my ribs protested, reminding me that I was still healing. There was a soft knock on the door. Miss Emma, are you awake? Mrs. Chen. I pulled on the robe that had been laid out on the chair. Silk, of course, probably worth more than my last paycheck, and unlocked the door. She wheeled in a cart laden with breakfast, fresh fruit, pastries, eggs, bacon, orange juice, and a silver coffee service. Mr. Volkov thought you might prefer to eat in your room this morning. He's in meetings until noon. Relief and disappointment warred in my chest. I wasn't ready to face him yet, but part of me, a part I didn't want to examine, had hoped to see him. Thank you, I managed. Mrs. Chen set everything up on the small table by the window, efficient and professional. But as she was leaving, she paused. He's a good man, Miss Emma. I know how it looks from the outside, but he truly cares about those under his protection. You're safe here. Before I could respond, she was gone. I ate mechanically, my mind spinning. The food was incredible, probably prepared by some chef who'd trained in Paris, but I barely tasted it. I kept thinking about what Damien had said last night, about Elena, about the Marchettis, about not knowing what he wanted from me. My phone buzzed. I'd left it charging overnight, and now I saw I had dozens of missed calls from numbers I didn't recognize, and several voicemails. Against my better judgment, I listened to one. Miss Reed, this is Jennifer Walsh from the New York Post. We'd love to interview you about the heroic rescue. We're prepared to offer. I deleted it without listening to the rest. The next one was similar, a different news outlet, same request. The third made my blood run cold. Heavy breathing, then a woman's voice, slurred and venomous. You think you're a hero? You think stealing my son makes you special? You're nothing. Nothing. And when I get out of here, I'm going to make you understand what you took from me. Elena, it had to be. My hands were shaking as I deleted the message. The phone immediately rang again. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Instead, I pulled up the message thread with Damien and typed, Elena called me. How did she get my number? The response came within seconds. She shouldn't have been able to. Forward me the number. I'll handle it. Then, immediately after, are you all right? Was I? I didn't know anymore. I'm fine. Just shaken. I'm coming up. You said you had meetings. Give me 5 minutes. I barely had time to make myself presentable before there was a sharp knock. I opened the door to find Damien in a 3-piece suit, phone pressed to his ear, speaking rapid Italian. His eyes scanned me from head to toe, checking for damage, before he stepped inside and closed the door. Find out who gave her access to a phone, he said into his device, his voice cold enough to frost glass. And make sure it doesn't happen again. He ended the call and focused entirely on me. Let me hear the message. I played it for him, watched his expression go from concerned to absolutely murderous. She won't contact you again, he said quietly, and something in his tone made me believe him. I'll make sure of it. How? I asked, then immediately regretted it. I probably didn't want to know, but he answered anyway. Elena is in a psychiatric facility awaiting trial. She has limited phone privileges. Someone on staff gave her access they shouldn't have. That person will be dealt with. Dealt with, I repeated. What does that mean? His eyes met mine. It means they'll lose their job and face criminal charges for violating patient communication protocols. What did you think I meant? I didn't answer. The truth was, I'd been thinking something darker, something violent, and the fact that he knew that he'd chosen to reassure me, made something shift in my chest. I'm not a monster, Emma, he said softly. I do what I must to protect what's mine. But I'm not a savage. What's yours? I echoed. You keep saying that. Because it's true. He moved closer, and I found myself backing up until I hit the window. He stopped a foot away, giving me space but trapping me with his presence. You saved my son. In my world, that creates a bond, a debt, an obligation. His hand came up, not touching me, just hovering near my cheek. But it's more than that now. What do you mean? I mean... He seemed to struggle for words, this dangerous man who always seemed so certain. I mean when I saw you collapse, when I thought for a moment you might die. He broke off, his jaw clenching. I haven't felt fear like that since Nico was born. The admission hung between us, raw and honest. Damien? Papa! The door burst open, and Nico came running in, still in his pajamas, a huge smile on his face. You're here? And Miss Emma? Can we have breakfast together? Please? Mrs. Chen appeared in the doorway, apologetic. I'm sorry, sir. He got away from me again. But Damien was smiling, a real smile that transformed his face, made him look younger, less dangerous. It's fine. He scooped Nico up. What do you think, Malish? Should we invite Miss Emma to have breakfast with us? Yes. Nico turned to me with pleading eyes. Please, Miss Emma. I want to show you my cars. And my Legos. And my room has a slide. How could I say no to that face? Okay, I found myself agreeing. But I need to get dressed first. We'll wait in the living room, Damien said. Then, to Mrs. Chen, have breakfast set up there, something Nico will actually eat. Chicken nuggets, Nico shouted. For breakfast? I raised an eyebrow. Damien shrugged, looking almost sheepish. Pick your battles. Watching him with his son, patient, affectionate, completely devoted, I saw a different side of the man who'd told me I was his to protect. This was the father who'd risked his life on a crumbling ledge. The man who'd caught us both when we fell. I changed quickly into jeans and a sweater from the magical closet of clothes that fit perfectly and joined them in the living room. Breakfast had been transformed into something more casual. Chicken nuggets for Nico, yes, but also fruit and yogurt, and what looked like homemade waffles. Nico insisted I sit next to him, and he spent the entire meal telling me about his toys, his favorite movies, his fish named Rocket. He was bright and funny, and so full of life that it was hard to believe he'd nearly died 3 days ago. Miss Emma saved us, he told his father seriously around a mouthful of nugget. She was very brave. She was, Damien agreed, his eyes on me. Very brave. Are you going to stay with us forever? Nico asked with the blunt curiosity of a 4-year-old. I froze. Damien's expression didn't change, but I saw something flicker in his eyes. Interest, maybe. Waiting to see how I'd answer. I don't know yet, sweetie. But you should, Nico insisted. Papa says you need to be safe, and we can keep you safe, and you're nice, and pretty. Don't you think she's pretty, Papa? If I'd been drinking something, I would have choked on it. Damien's lips curved into something that wasn't quite a smile. Yes, Nico. I think Miss Emma is very pretty. The way he said it, the heat in his eyes, made my stomach flip. See? Nico beamed like he'd solved a puzzle. So you should stay. Then Papa won't be lonely anymore. Nico, Damien said, a warning in his tone. But the damage was done. The child's innocent observation hung in the air. Papa won't be lonely anymore. I'm going to play now, Nico announced, sliding off his chair and running to his elaborate setup of toys in the corner of the room, leaving Damien and me alone in charged silence. Sorry, he said finally. Children have no filter. It's fine. I picked at my waffle, not meeting his eyes. He's sweet. He likes you. He doesn't like many people. Damien leaned back in his chair, studying me. You're good with him. I like kids. Then before I could stop myself, I always wanted them. Before everything fell apart, what stopped you? Life, bad choices, a man who stole my future. I laughed bitterly. The usual story. Not the usual, he corrected. Your story. And it's not over yet. I finally looked at him. What do you want from me, Damien? Really? Not the debt thing, not the protection thing. What do you actually want? He was quiet for a long moment, his dark eyes searching my face. Honestly, I don't know yet. I just know that when I look at you, something in me settles. Like finding something I didn't know I was looking for. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. You're not afraid of me. You should be. Most people are. But you're not. You argue with me. You push back. And when you look at my son, I see genuine affection, not calculation. Why would I calculate anything? Because of what I am. What I have. His expression hardened slightly. Most women who get close to me want something. Money, status, protection, power. They see Nico as a tool, a way to secure their position. Elena did. Others have. But you? He shook his head. You didn't even know who I was. You risked your life with no expectation of reward. So I'm what? A novelty? You're real. The intensity in his voice made me shiver. In a world full of lies and manipulation, you're honest. It's intoxicating. Before I could respond, his phone rang. He glanced at it and swore under his breath. I have to take this. It's about the Marchettis. He walked to the window, phone pressed to his ear, his body language shifting into something harder, more dangerous. I couldn't hear what he was saying, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. I moved to where Nico was playing, sitting on the floor beside him. He immediately handed me a toy car. This one's fast, like Papa's cars. Your papa has fast cars? Uh-huh. So many cars. He lets me sit in them sometimes, but not drive, not till I'm bigger. He made the car zoom across the floor. When I'm big like Papa, I'm going to drive really fast and catch bad guys. Catch bad guys? Yeah. Papa catches bad guys. He makes them go away so they can't hurt people. Said with absolute faith, like his father was some kind of superhero. In Nico's world, maybe he was. Damien returned, his expression grim. We need to talk. Privately. The tone made my stomach drop. Okay. He nodded to Mrs. Chen, who immediately came to collect Nico. The boy protested but was distracted by the promise of cartoons. Once we were alone, Damien poured himself a drink, despite it being barely noon. The Marchettis made a move. What kind of move? They put a price on your head. He said it bluntly, no softening the blow. 50,000 to anyone who brings them information on your location. 100,000 for permanent solution. The room tilted. They want to kill me. They want to hurt me through you, through Nico. They know you matter now. He downed the drink in one swallow, which means my protection isn't optional anymore. It's mandatory. You understand? I nodded numbly. Good. Because starting today, you don't go anywhere without security. You don't talk to anyone I haven't vetted. You don't... He stopped, seeing my expression. Emma. Breathe. I realized I wasn't. My chest was tight, panic rising like a wave. This is insane. This is completely insane. I'm nobody. I'm just a waitress who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. You're not nobody. He was in front of me suddenly, hands gripping my shoulders, forcing me to look at him. You're the woman who saved my son. You're under my protection, and I don't fail to protect what's mine. Do you hear me? But for how long? The question burst out of me. How long do I live like this? How long until they forget about me? How long until I can have my life back? His expression softened, and he pulled me against his chest. I should have pushed him away, should have maintained distance, but I was so tired and so scared, and his arms felt so solid around me. I don't know, he admitted quietly into my hair, but I promise you this, as long as you're with me, you're safe. And I will do everything in my power to end this threat. How? By making them understand that touching you means war, and nobody wants war with me. I pulled back to look at him. Because you're, what, mafia? A crime lord? What are you, Damien? I'm a businessman who operates in gray areas. I import, export, facilitate deals that others can't or won't make. Some of it is legal. Some of it, he shrugged. I do what I must to protect my interests and provide for my son. The Volkov name carries weight in certain circles. The Marchettis know this. They're testing boundaries. And I'm the test. You're the line in the sand. His thumb brushed across my cheek, and I realized there were tears on my face I hadn't felt fall. They hurt you. They learn what I'm capable of. They back off. Everyone wins. What if they don't back off? His eyes went cold. Then they learn the hard way. A chill ran down my spine. Not from fear of him, but from the absolute certainty in his voice. This was a man who'd burned down anyone who threatened what he loved, and somehow, impossibly, I'd become one of those things. I need air, I whispered. I need to think. The terrace. He gestured to a door I hadn't noticed. It's secure. 30 floors up. Nobody can touch you there. I walked out onto a massive terrace with gardens and lounge chairs, and a view that stretched across the entire city. The cold December air bit at my skin, but it felt good. Real. Damien followed but kept his distance, leaning against the railing, giving me space. This wasn't supposed to happen, I said finally. I was just trying to survive, one day at a time, and now you're here. Safe, fed, warm. He turned to look at me. Is it really so terrible? It's a cage. It's protection. What's the difference? Choice. He moved closer, not touching, just close enough that I could feel his warmth. I'm not keeping you prisoner, Emma. If you truly want to leave, walk out that door. I won't stop you. He paused. But I will follow you. I will protect you from the shadows, because I won't let anything happen to you. Why? I turned to face him fully. Why do you care so much? You don't even know me. I know you ran into a burning building for a child you'd never met. I know you put yourself between danger and innocence without hesitation. I know you're loyal and brave and honest to a fault. His hand came up, cupping my face. I know that when I'm with you, something in me that's been dark for years feels lighter. Damien, I'm not asking you to love me. I'm not asking for anything except time. Time to figure this out. Time to keep you safe. Time to... He seemed to struggle for words. Time to see if this thing between us is real or just adrenaline and circumstance. And if it's just adrenaline, then when the threat passes, you walk away with enough money to start whatever life you want. Nursing school, a new apartment, a fresh start. I'll make sure you have everything you need. And if it's not? His thumb traced my lower lip, sending heat straight through me. Then we figure out what comes next. Together. I should have said no. Should have walked away. But his hand was warm on my face. His eyes were dark with something that looked like hope. And somewhere inside that apartment was a little boy who'd already stolen a piece of my heart. Okay, I heard myself whisper. Okay, I'll stay. For now. The smile that spread across his face was like sunrise. Slow, warm, transforming everything. Thank you. Then he kissed me. It wasn't demanding or forceful. It was gentle, questioning, giving me every opportunity to pull away. Instead, I leaned into him, my hands fisting in his shirt, and kissed him back. It felt like falling and flying at the same time. When we finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. This changes things. I know. No going back. I know. Good. He pulled me closer, wrapping me in warmth and safety and the scent of cedar. because I don't think I could let you go now even if I wanted to. And standing there, 30 floors above the city, in the arms of a dangerous man who'd somehow become my protector, I realized I didn't want him to. The next 2 weeks passed in a strange sort of dream. Damien was gone most days, handling what he called business, a word that encompassed everything from legitimate imports to things I suspected were far less legal. But he was home every evening for dinner with Nico, and after the little boy went to bed, Damien and I would sit on the terrace despite the cold, talking until the city lights blurred together. I learned about his childhood in Moscow, about coming to America at 16 with nothing but ambition and anger, about building an empire from the ground up through sheer will and calculated risks, about the loneliness of power, the weight of always being the one others depended on. He learned about my parents, killed in a car accident when I was 19, about dropping out of college to pay for their funeral, about the years of struggling and surviving, about dreams deferred and hopes that had slowly withered. "You could go back," he said one night, his arm around my shoulders as we watched the snow begin to fall. "To nursing school. I could arrange it." "Just like that?" "Just like that." He pressed a kiss to my temple. "You deserve to have your dreams, Emma." But the truth was, my dreams were shifting. Nursing school seemed like something from another lifetime, a different person. Now my dreams looked like a little boy's laughter and a dangerous man's rare smiles and the feeling of being safe for the first time in years. Nico had adopted me completely. I read him bedtime stories, helped him build elaborate Lego cities, played endless games of cars and superheroes. He started calling me Miss Emma less and just Emma more, and sometimes, when he was very tired or very happy, it sounded almost like Mama. Neither Damien nor I corrected him. Mrs. Chen watched it all with knowing eyes but said nothing. Anton, the driver, became a constant presence, my shadow whenever I left the apartment, which wasn't often. The few times I did venture out, always with security, I felt the weight of watching eyes. The Marchettis hadn't made another move, but Damien's sources said they were planning something. "It's too quiet," he told me one night, tension in every line of his body. "They should have retaliated by now. Maybe they've given up." "The Marchettis don't give up." He pulled me closer. "They're waiting for something. I just don't know what." I found out 3 days later. I was in the kitchen with Nico, making cookies, or, more accurately, making a mess while Nico helped by eating most of the chocolate chips, when Damien came home early. One look at his face told me something was wrong. "Nico, go play in your room," he said, his voice carefully controlled. "But the cookies—" "Now, Malish." Nico recognized that tone. He went, throwing worried looks over his shoulder. Once we were alone, Damien pulled out his phone and showed me a photo. It was grainy, taken from a distance, but clear enough to make my blood run cold. It was me, from this morning, walking Nico to the car for his preschool. Someone had been watching us. "They got past my security," Damien said, his voice deadly quiet. "Someone on my payroll sold us out. They know Nico's schedule. They know you're the one who takes him to school." Oh God. My hands started shaking. They're not going to do anything because you're both staying here from now on. Nico's school is sending his teacher here for private sessions. You don't leave this apartment without me. And I'm going to find who betrayed us and make them wish they'd never been born. The violence in his voice should have scared me. Instead, I felt relief. He would protect us. He would fix this. "There's more," he said, and I braced myself. "Elena escaped custody 2 days ago." The room spun. "What? How?" "Someone helped her. Same someone who sold us out, I'm guessing. She's in the wind, and every resource I have is looking for her." He cupped my face in his hands. "But until we find her, you and Nico are the most protected people in this city. I've tripled security. There are armed guards on every floor, watching every entrance. Nothing gets in or out without my knowledge. You're turning this place into a fortress. I'm keeping my family safe." The word hung between us. Family. Not my son and the woman I'm protecting. Family. Before I could process that, his phone rang. He answered in rapid Russian, his expression growing darker with each word. When he hung up, he looked at me with something I'd never seen before. Fear. They found Elena. She's in the building. Time stopped. What? She got past security somehow. She's on the 18th floor and heading up. He was already moving, pulling me toward Nico's room. Get him and go to the panic room. Now. The what? He pressed a panel on the wall I'd never noticed, and it slid open to reveal a reinforced steel door. It's bulletproof, bomb-proof, and has its own air supply. You go in with Nico, and you don't come out until I come get you. Do you understand? Damien. Do you understand? He roared. Yes. He pulled me against him, kissed me hard and desperate. I love you. I need you to know that. I love you, and I'm going to keep you safe. Then he shoved me toward Nico's room and was gone. I ran. Nico looked up from his toys, confused as I grabbed him. We're playing a game, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. A special hiding game with Papa. Is it like hide and seek? Exactly like that. I got him into the panic room, a small space with a bed, supplies, monitors showing camera feeds from throughout the apartment. I locked the door and pulled Nico onto my lap, his little body warm and trusting against mine. On the monitors, I watched Damien meet his security team in the living room. 6 men, all armed, all moving with military precision. They fanned out, securing the apartment. Then the elevator doors opened. Elena stumbled out, and my first thought was that she looked nothing like I'd expected. She was beautiful, or had been once. Now she was gaunt, wild-eyed, her hair matted and clothes dirty, and in her hand, she held a gun. Where is he? She screamed. Where's my son? Give me back my son. Damien stepped into view, hands raised, voice calm. Elena, put down the gun. You took him from me. You took everything from me. She was crying now, the gun shaking in her grip. I'm his mother. You tried to kill him, Damien said, steel beneath the calm. You started a fire with him inside. I wasn't thinking straight. I was upset. But I'm better now. I swear I'm better. Just give him back. No. The single word was absolute. Elena's face crumpled, then hardened. Then if I can't have him, nobody can. She raised the gun, pointing it directly at Damien. Everything happened at once. Damien moved, faster than should have been possible for a man his size, knocking the gun aside as it discharged. The bullet shattered a window. His security team rushed forward. Elena screamed, a sound of pure rage and despair, and tried to fire again. This time, Damien's men were ready. One of them tackled her, wrestling the gun away. Another was on the phone, calling. Police? Cleanup? I didn't know. Damien stood there breathing hard, a cut on his cheek from where the gun had grazed him, but alive. He was alive. Get her out of here, he ordered, and find out who helped her get in. I want names. They dragged Elena away, still screaming, still crying, still demanding her son. I felt Nico trembling against me, and realized he'd been watching the monitors too. That's Mama, he whispered. Why is Mama so angry? How do you explain to a 4-year-old that his mother is sick, that she tried to hurt him, that love and madness can exist in the same heart? Your Mama is confused right now, I said carefully. She needs help from doctors, but your Papa is going to make sure you're safe. And so am I. Are you my new Mama? The question hit me like a physical blow. Nico, that's not... I want you to be, he said simply, with the perfect logic of a child. You're nice, and you smell good, and you don't yell. And Papa smiles when you're here. Can you be my Mama? Before I could answer, the panic room door opened. Damien stood there, blood on his shirt but eyes bright with relief. It's over. She's in custody, and this time she won't get out. I made sure of it. Nico launched himself at his father, and Damien caught him, holding him tight. You're safe, Mellish. Everyone's safe. Emma protected me, Nico announced. She was very brave. Again, Damien's eyes found mine over his son's head. She's always brave. The police came, gave statements, carefully edited versions of the truth. Damien's lawyers arrived, smooth men in expensive suits who made problems disappear with the right words and implied threats. By midnight, it was done. Elena was in a maximum security psychiatric facility. The betrayer on Damien's security team was dealt with, and the apartment was being cleaned and repaired. Nico had fallen asleep in his father's arms. Damien carried him to bed, tucked him in gently, and stood there for a long moment just watching him breathe. "I almost lost him," he said when I joined him in the doorway. "If you hadn't gotten him into that room." "But I did. And he's safe. Because of you." He turned to face me fully. "Everything good in my life right now is because of you. You saved him from the fire. You've given him stability and affection. You've given me..." He seemed to struggle for words. "You've given me hope that there's more to life than violence and money and power. Damien, I meant what I said earlier. I love you." He stepped closer, cupping my face in his hands. "I know it's fast. I know it's insane. I know you probably think I'm just confused or grateful or caught up in the drama. I don't think that." The words came out steady, certain. "I think you're a dangerous man who's capable of terrible things. I think you live in a world I don't fully understand. I think being with you means accepting risks I never imagined." I put my hands over his, "And I think I love you too." The kiss was different this time, not gentle or questioning, but claiming, possessive. A promise and a declaration. When we finally broke apart, both breathing hard, he rested his forehead against mine. "Stay. Not because you're in danger, not because you have nowhere else to go. Stay because you want this, want us. What about the Marchettis? Handled." I met with their leadership while Elena was being processed, made it very clear that any move against you or Nico would be considered an act of war. They don't want war with me, Emma. They never did. Elena was the problem, and now she's gone. So I'm safe? Actually safe. As safe as anyone can be in this life. His thumb traced my cheekbone. "I can't promise you normal. I can't promise you safe and boring and suburban. But I can promise you this. I will protect you with everything I have. I will give you anything you want. And I will love you for as long as you'll let me." That's a dangerous promise. "I'm a dangerous man." His lips curved into a smile. "But I'm your dangerous man, if you'll have me." I thought about everything that had led to this moment. The fire, the fear, the impossible coincidences. I thought about Nico's smile and Mrs. Chen's knowing looks, and the way this penthouse had started to feel like home. I thought about nursing school and the life I'd imagined, and the dreams I'd had when I was young and naive. And then I looked at the man in front of me. This dangerous, complicated, devoted man who'd somehow become my world. And I knew. "Yes," I said simply. "Yes to all of it." He pulled me against him, and I felt his heart racing in his chest, matching my own. "Move in with us. Properly. Not as a guest or someone under protection, as my partner. Nico's." He paused. "He asked if you could be his mother." Tears stung my eyes. He told me. In the panic room. And I didn't know what to say. "Damien, you're not replacing anyone. Elena was never really his mother, not in the ways that matter. But you?" He pulled back to look at me. "You read to him every night. You make him laugh. You keep him safe. You love him. That's what a mother does." "I do love him," I admitted. "So much it scares me." "Then say yes." "To me? To him? To this crazy life?" His dark eyes searched mine. "Marry me, Emma." I stared at him. That's insane. We've known each other for 2 weeks. I knew I wanted you in my life the moment you pulled me off that ledge. I knew I was falling in love with you when you collapsed holding my son. I knew I couldn't let you go when you stood up to me about staying." He smiled. 2 weeks. 2 months. 2 years. The timeline doesn't matter. The feeling does. He wasn't wrong. In 2 weeks, this man and his son had become everything to me. My safety, my happiness, my future. "Okay," I whispered. "Okay? Yes. I'll marry you. I'll be Nico's mother. I'll stay here and build this crazy life with you." I laughed, tears streaming down my face now. I must be insane. We both are. He kissed me again, and it tasted like promises and new beginnings. But we'll be insane together. 6 months later, the wedding was small, just family and close friends. Nico was the ring bearer, taking his job very seriously in his little suit. Mrs. Chen cried. Anton smiled, which I'd learned was as rare as snow in July. Damien's associates came, dangerous men in expensive suits who treated me with respect that bordered on reverence. I wore a dress that cost more than my entire first year of nursing school, which I'd started the month before, thanks to Damien pulling strings and writing checks. I was going to be a nurse. I was going to help people. But first, I was going to marry the man who'd become my entire world. "You look beautiful," Damien said when he saw me, his voice rough with emotion. "You clean up pretty well yourself." He laughed, and I marveled at how often he did that now. How the dark shadows in his eyes had lightened, how he smiled more readily, how he'd softened in small ways while remaining the dangerous, powerful man I'd fallen for. The ceremony was short, traditional vows that meant everything. When it came time to kiss the bride, Damien pulled me close and whispered, "Thank you for saving me. I pulled you off a ledge," I whispered back. "Hardly heroic. You pulled me out of the fire, Emma. The one I'd been burning in for years." He kissed me gently. "You gave me back my life." At the reception, Nico gave a speech that mostly consisted of, "Emma makes the best cookies and she's pretty, and Papa smiles now, and I love her." It was perfect. Later, as we danced under string lights on the penthouse terrace where he'd first kissed me, Damien held me close and asked, "Any regrets?" I thought about the diner that had burned down, about the struggling waitress I'd been, about the life I'd thought I wanted. None of it compared to this, to belonging, to love, to family. "None," I said honestly. "You, only that I didn't find you sooner." He spun me gently and I laughed, though I suppose the universe had to wait until I was ready for you. "And are you? Ready? For you? For this? For forever?" He pulled me closer, his dark eyes warm with love and promise. "Emma Volkov, I've been ready since the moment you ran into the fire." I kissed him as the city sparkled below us, and our future stretched out bright and unknown and perfect. I'd walked into that fire to save a child. Instead, I'd saved